Badr al-Din is one of the most prominent terrorists of the Hezbollah. He began his career as a terrorist in the Fatah Force 17 in Lebanon, and then he was among the founders of the Hezbollah. In 1983, he participated to the attacks against the barracks of the American and the French soldiers in Beirut. And after this attack, which was a very criminal attack, and there were hundreds of dead and wounded soldiers, the USA and France troops retired from Lebanon. Then he participated to attacks against the American and the French embassies in Kuwait. He was arrested and condemned to death, to penalty by death, and then he stayed in jail until the forces of Saddam Hussein and invaded Kuwait, and then he was freed and came back to the Hezbollah and participated to more attacks. And for example, he was apparently responsible for the attack against the Israeli base in Burgas in Bulgaria in 2012. So good riddance.
We can say that he's a terrorist, like number 2 after Imad Murnia?
Yeah, for sure. He was. He replaced Imad Murnia, and he was in charge of preparation and realization of these terrorist attacks among the world. And then he was responsible for the Hezbollah of war against the Sunni factions in Syria, and then he found his death.
From your experience, we can say who did that?
We could not be sure. Maybe apparently these were Sunni factions, and that's what the Hezbollah said. But we have to understand that for the Hezbollah, the source of all these attacks against the Hezbollah is Israel. And I will quote what said the Sheikh Naim Qassem, who is the Deputy Secretary General of Hezbollah. And he said at the funeral of Badr al-Din yesterday, there is only one enemy, Israel. It takes different forms. It is in different places, but at the end of the day, it's only the Israeli program. So they think that Israel is guilty for this assassination.
Israel need to concern? Israel need to afraid that revenge is going to come?
You see, Hezbollah is very weakened since 2006. After the war against Israel in Lebanon, many houses in which Hezbollah terrorists tried to attack Israel have been destroyed. And it didn't succeed, Hezbollah didn't succeed in building them back. And in the war in Syria, since the beginning of this war, the Hezbollah had more than 1,000 soldiers killed, and around about 8,000 wounded. So it is very heavy losses for the Hezbollah. It's very weakened. And also after the decision of the Congress, the banks of Lebanon have closed the accounts of the Hezbollah and of members of Hezbollah. So he's very weakened, and he doesn't want to open a new area of fighting. so fight. So I don't think that the Hezbollah will send missiles towards Israel or something like that. What could be a risk, the major risk, and it's also a minor one, but the major risk is attacks against Jewish targets abroad.
To kill a terrorist like him, make ISIS more stronger?
The last days, the Sunni factions in Syria had many successes. They killed around 100 Iranian and Hezbollah soldiers there, and this is despite the aerial attacks of Russia there. So what we see is the strength of the Sunni movements in Syria, and you have to remember that if the West is banking on the Shiite factions, and they're only 15% of the world, and 85% of the Muslims in the world are Sunni, and I don't think it was a big bet.
Let's talk now about Europe. We see in the last days that the radical Islam attacked a police station. Do you think we can say now to the Europe, what you cook is what you eat?
In Europe, there are tremendous changes. I will quote, for example, Britain. In Britain, during the 15 last years, the number of Muslims doubled from 1.5 million to 3 million, to more than 3 million. And in Germany, around 1 million Muslims arrived last year as refugees, and also as persons seeking for better social and economical conditions. And when they come with their values, and their values are Islamic values. We know it by polls, and they want, for example, around 40% of them want the Sharia to be the law in the regions in which they are the majority. So, and when Europe doesn't agree with this, so we have clashes. So you are quite right.
Maybe Europe not wake up.
Europeans are awakening, for sure. Europeans, the population, but the regimes not. So the right wings and the left wings have their own interests, economical interests in Muslim countries, and the electorate, the Muslim population in their countries. And what we see is the far right extremists getting more and more votes for them, for example, in Austria. And what we have to expect is this, that in the next elections, the right wings will win more and more seats in the parliaments and so on. And we wait and see. But up to now, still sleeping.